Hey skiers, I'm Jeff from skiessentials.com.
I'm Bob. How's it going?
Welcome back to another comparison series. I would say that this is my favorite group.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fun to be had with these skis.
Yeah,
A really good mix of things,
Yep.
too.
Putting the wall together, I just couldn't help but think like, oh, I really like this one.
Right.
I really like this one. There's a lot of skis up here that I would put into my personal group of favorite skis.
Yep.
So, a lot of fun. This is the mid 100 comparison. So I think the range from widths is 103 to 107. Sorry, 102,
102,
to
yep.
107. And we thought it would be fun to go narrowest to widest. Bob, you actually weren't here when I kind of organized this wall, but the first, first qualifier is waist width, and then we went by tip width,
Yep.
and then we went by tail width
Okay.
last. And there's one tie, which was really fun, and then we didn't know what to do. And we had a fun debate about whether it was based on volume at that point,
Right.
core thickness.
Yep.
Anyways, a little off topic, but going narrowest to widest, obviously some pretty good soft snow application up here, and a lot of variety too in shapes and feel, and I don't know, this is a fun one.
Yeah, and it's interesting to think about it from like where do skis on this wall fit into a skier's quiver?
Yes,
Like, if
there's a lot of
you're-
different things.
Yeah, if you're here in Vermont, there's a good chance that something here will be your widest ski.
Yep.
And if you are in a snowier zone, there's a good chance it could be a daily driver or a narrower option.
Yeah.
So there is a variance in terms of skier type and application as well.
Yeah.
So we can kind of touch on that as we go.
Absolutely. So we'll get right into it. Over here we have the Faction Mana 2. Really fun this season, getting on a bunch of Faction skis. I would say out of everything that I skied, which is probably, I don't know, five, six different Faction models, this one's pretty squarely my favorite. And if anything, this is kind of the replacement of the Candide 2.0. 102 underfoot, twin tip shape, kind of a freestyle derived shape that's been tweaked into more freeride capabilities. Poplar wood core, pretty straightforward construction in this ski, but we do get a carbon and rubber, they call it stomp pad, which is basically right underfoot. I can't remember the exact length. They have it in like millimeters,
Right.
like 300 millimeters or something like that. So just think about it just under the foot, giving it a little bit more of a stout feel right underfoot. 1,920 grams in this ski, and this is the 183 centimeter length. So not super, super light. And that's actually one of the first things that I noticed about this ski. And it will kind of differ from the next ski that we look at, is that it doesn't feel lightweight when you ski it.
No, you understand that there's something on your foot.
Yeah, there's some strength and some stability to this ski for sure. And that I thought was a noticeable contrast to the Candide. The Candides to me always felt really, really light, regardless of which width it was.
Yeah.
They always felt light, really, really flickable and snappy. This has some of that characteristic, but definitely stronger. And I'd say it's fair to say that it takes away a little bit of its just quickness and agility.
Yeah.
But that's fine, because it's just one of those give or take things, and I think a lot of skiers would appreciate gaining some stability for higher speed skiing. And that, I feel like, is reflected pretty nicely in that flex pattern.
Yeah.
Like,
It's there.
yeah, just knowing Faction as a brand and kind of knowing the intention of this ski, where it sits in their line, I don't think people would expect it to be that stiff.
No, and I think one of the new things that we've kind of started talking about this year is that core thickness.
Yeah.
And like, it's pretty symmetrical from tip to tail and pretty thick, when we're talking about that up here especially.
Yeah, especially through this.
It doesn't thin
portion
out a whole lot,
Yeah.
and so that's where a lot of that stability and the weight and that stiffer flex come from.
Yeah. I mentioned that it's derived from a freestyle shape, and you really start to see that in the rocker camber profile. We pretty much get symmetrical amounts of rocker in this ski, so we're looking at tip rocker there, and then flip it over, and we've got pretty much identical length and identical splay here in the tail. The tail is narrower than the tip.
Not by much. It's
Nope.
you know, single digits millimeters, like 5 or 6 millimeters.
Yep.
Or where I can't remember exactly,
But that's kind of important
Yep.
in a ski this width. If you do make it symmetrical, you're really limiting its application. It's
Yep.
pretty much just a park ski at that point. By giving it some tip to tail taper, you're definitely increasing its maneuverability and its just capabilities as an all-mountain
Yeah.
ski. So really good ski for the type of skier who specifically wants a twin tip. You definitely should want a twin tip if you're considering this ski, because it's full-on twin tip. Like, we're going to look at a lot of twin tips up here, and this is one of the most twin tippy.
yeah.
So definitely that type of skier. You want the ability to ski switch. You probably do some tricks. You probably ski in the park a little bit, but you want some directional stability too. You want to be able to point your skis down the fall line and go. I think it's a really, really good choice. And this is easily one that could be a daily driver, in
Yep.
my opinion. In fact, we're narrow enough here that I could see it as a daily driver in Vermont.
Mm-hmm.
I think as we get to like this end of this side of the wall, that's where you're starting to see more of a bit of a cutoff between Vermont daily driver or East Coast daily driver. But really cool ski from Faction. Really happy to have him here. Kind of carries forward the theme of the Candide line, but they feel quite a bit different to me.
Yeah, I felt that was a little bit, or I'm sorry, the Candide was more similar to
Yeah.
Origin in terms of that roundness.
Origin or even like Reckoner.
Yeah,
A little stiffer than Reckoner, but yeah, this just feels more stout, more vibration damping too.
Yeah.
It's a very smooth ski, where the Candide wasn't necessarily pingy, but more prone to get deflected.
yeah, I felt like that wanted to make very curvy S turns.
Yep. Super fun ski.
Yep. And another twin tip, K2 Reckoner 102. A lot of similar characteristics are coming through with this ski. They certainly do it in a different format.
Definitely the same category.
Yep, right there. You know, if you were to put the catalog side by side, you'd see Reckoner 102 and Mana 2 right there. Lighter, about 100 and change lighter, 1,820 grams for this Reckoner 102. They lose that weight by making that thinner profile. They use their aspen wood core. They have vertical carbon stringers running through here, and then their carbon spectral braid. So that vertical, that carbon boost really helps keep this ski, you know, nice and snappy in that fore aft, while that the spectral braid alters the torsional stiffness. So for something that's as flexible as this is, it really is actually pretty torsionally stiff. When you get this thing up on edge, you know, the ability to get that whole round side cut makes this thing a really nice turner. I'm a little bit oversized for this ski, even in the 184.
Yep, sure.
For a more directional skier, I certainly am able to kind of push through the shovel there, but you know, if you stand in the middle of this thing, it's pretty impressive how much performance and energy you get out of it, and it's really all about that those carbon stringers that run crisscross.
Yeah, the spectral braid.
The spectral braid.
They do a great job. I feel like it's almost more noticeable in how they're controlling torsional stiffness than the Mindbenders with metal.
Right.
Like, you really feel it in this ski, because
Yeah.
the tips and tails are like loose and bendy, but then as you get it to flex underfoot, and if you're weighted centered, it just holds in like a surprising way right underfoot. But the important thing there is that you are centered, because you let your weight go too far or too forward, or you try and drive a turn through the tip of that ski, and it just doesn't really work.
And two people that I think of on this ski, one is the park crew guy. I forget his name right now. He got a pair of these last year.
Yep. Casey.
You know, Casey worked in the park, skied park, really good park
Loved
skier,
him,
loved these skis. And then Brad, who is our warehouse manager here,
Yep.
really strong skier.
Doesn't ski in the park.
Nope, skis in the woods.
Race
And-
background too.
Yep.
He's more of a technical directional skier.
Yeah, and he's either on this or an Enforcer 100.
Yeah, he loves both of
He
them.
loves both of them, but like he's in the woods and he's on this. So like, you know, he's more your size than my size.
Yep.
So for a lighter skier, I think that this has a lot of good benefits for the trees.
Yeah.
Again, I would probably be a little forward on this thing in the woods, but that doesn't take away, lighter, less aggressive skiers' enjoyment out of it. I think there's a huge range of skier type on this as well.
Yeah.
But
considerably lighter and considerably softer flexing than the ski that we just looked at.
Yep.
1,800 grams in this ski, and before we started filming, we were like bending it in half.
Yeah.
It's just one of the softest skis you're ever gonna feel.
Yeah, it's got a lot of line blend notes to it.
Yeah, super, super fun. I love skiing this thing.
Yeah.
There's so much to like about it. I would say strength and stability is not its highlighting characteristic.
Right.
So you got to keep that in mind. And I would also go as far as saying if you're like really hard on your equipment, if you just bash things around, there are maybe better options.
Yeah.
Like this thing doesn't love to be bashed around. It likes to be finessed around the mountain. But if you can ski like that, and if you like skis that feel that way, it's such a fun ski.
Yeah, surprising performance characteristics, I would say.
Totally. No, the first time I skied it, I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Because, you flex a ski and kind of play around with it just on the flats and like feel out the tips and tails. And then as soon as I started carving on it, I was like, well, that doesn't make sense.
Nope. No, it's very unique.
And we've talked about that before with other skis. I can't really think of which exact skis they were. Maybe Ripsticks, actually.
Yeah.
I think it's similar conversation with Ripsticks is the good torsional stiffness, but the soft longitudinal flex.
Yeah.
And it just makes you feel like a rock star because you're like bending the ski and just like arcing these cool carves and super high edge angles.
Yeah.
You can do all that on that ski and then go do some 180s and stuff, which is right up my alley.
And that's kind of the benefit of a carbon-powered ski.
Yep.
Where you can get those edge angles and flex it and bend it and get really good rebound.
Yep, and we'll have a similar conversation in the next two skis. So this is the Blizzard Rustler 10, back again for another season. No real changes to this ski. The only thing that they keep doing is like tweaking the top sheet material.
Yeah.
I think this is more similar than different to last year's Rustler in terms of its top sheet feel, but these skis have been the same for, I think this is the fourth year?
I called it like the grandfather of freeride skis because it's
at
just
this
like,
point it kind of feels like it.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Rustler 10's been around for a while, and I feel like it's carved a nice little niche for itself in this category. It's very, very easy to ski while still having a pretty high performance ceiling. I'm thinking about all the different people that we've had ski this thing. Skiers like Dave, we mentioned Dave in the last video, who spends a lot of time in the trees. Whenever he skis this, I'm like, that's a great ski for Dave. And then we had Zach skiing it, ex-racer, and like really showing off what it can do on the top end of the spectrum. There are a ton of skis up here that outdo it in its just like top end power.
Yeah.
Like Enforcer 104, really both Senders, I think, but there is still some power to this ski.
Yeah.
So dual rocker, camber underfoot, carbon flip core DRT construction. DRT refers to dynamic release technology, which is, it sounds gimmicky, but I think it's one of the best names for one of these construction styles because it really gives you a good sense of what it's supposed to do. So we have this partial metal laminate underfoot. We've had this conversation so many times. It tapers and gets narrower as you go through the tip and tail of the ski, and then ends just about right where the rocker starts. Just over 2,000 grams in these skis, so again, like not crazy heavy. We're definitely going to see a lot of skis that are heavier, but not super, super lightweight either, and we'll see that in the next ski that is considerably lighter. But because the tips and tails don't have metal, because they have all this rocker up here, and the same is true in the tail, there's quite a bit of tail rocker in this ski, it's quite maneuverable too. So this ski is interesting and somewhat unique in the sense that it combines a really damp, stable feel with a lot of maneuverability. And that's made it a favorite just among a lot of skiers.
Right.
Thinking back to like Chuck. Chuck loved it. Mike's had it for a while. He really likes it. Works really well here in Vermont as a tree ski because you get that maneuverability, but then you have some like bite underfoot, and it's not uncommon that you like ski trees here and also find some ice in the same run.
It's hardly uncommon.
Right, which like doesn't really happen out west.
Right.
Not to say this isn't a good choice for a western skier too, but just its overall combination of performance characteristics makes it a really good choice as a Vermont East Coast tree ski.
Yeah.
So a lot of fun. I don't want to say it's like getting boring because we've had it for a while, but it's kind of just to the point where like, yeah, this is the Rustler 10. You guys know what it does.
Yeah. And we had that conversation with Enforcer 100 last time.
Exactly.
Like, well, or 88, I think it was on the 90 wall where we're like, well,
Right.
this is this is it. It's the same ski. There's some progress in some of these other models.
Right.
Whereas they're standing pat with what they've got.
Yeah, and why not?
Yeah.
I would venture a guess that we'll see a change to the Rustler line soon.
Yep.
But who knows at this point? Because it's really good and it works.
Yeah.
And now we've got the hustles, so it's kind of like some of the changes that I think we were speculating we might get in this ski, we kind of got in the hustle.
Right.
So now it's like, oh, do they just keep it the same and just keep the hustle? And I don't know. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this ski.
No, totally. And it's a good segue to hustle.
It's the perfect.
You know, some of the
Here's the same ski, but
here's
different.
the same ski but different. And you know, we kind of joke about it, but it's true. They used the same footprint as the Rustler series on this ski, and basically just altered up the construction in order to make it lighter. 1850, so you know, just about 200, 180 grams lighter.
175, something like that. It's enough.
It's enough. And it's interesting kind of the difference between where they're putting this in their marketing catalog versus where we kind of found that it excels on the snow. And especially if you're putting it up against a Core 105, which is almost 200 grams lighter than Hustle. So by putting this ski in like the backcountry, touring, side country, I don't even know what they're calling it anymore, but you know, basically they're having it be this 50-50 ski where you can use it in and out of bounds, uphill and downhill, really kind of limit your quiver options, I guess.
Hybrid AT.
Hybrid AT.
Is that a term? Is
Yeah.
that going to be a term?
You know, you put a Duke PT or even an Alpinist binding on this and use some type of touring boot, and you know, the idea is you go skinning with it.
Right.
You know, but if lightweight is the only thing that you value from an uphill standpoint, there are better options than this.
Yeah, and like we never went uphill on that ski.
Right.
Not a single time. Not one step uphill all of last season. We both skied it a ton.
Yeah.
And we both had really positive reactions to it.
And we both skied it like pretty aggressively.
Yeah, so
Like-
it's just hard to like ignore. Like it's impossible for me to like pinpoint it as a touring ski,
Right.
Because it's like, well, I've never toured on it and I've had a lot of fun on it, so
Yeah.
I'm not just going to tell people not to do the things on it that I think are
Right.
fun because on paper it's supposed to be a touring ski.
Right.
I don't know. It's an interesting conversation.
Totally. And on paper, it's not like, on the scale, it's not the best touring ski on this wall.
I mean, this is what, 200 grams
Yeah.
lighter when we get there?
Right.
And that's not a
Backland-
touring ski according to the catalog.
Right.
So it's just, anyways, I feel like we could have this
Okay.
conversation for like an hour.
Anyway, some changes though. Construction-wise, what they did was they added their True Blend wood core to this, which is kind of what Jeff was alluding to in terms of the changes to the Rustler, where we kind of thought that the True Blend was gonna go into Rustler, but they put it in Hustle, which is fine. It works
Yeah.
great.
Right.
Carbon DRT. So instead of having that metal partial laminate, they have carbon stringers, goes full width underfoot. So now we're in like a carbon-based Rustler 10,
Yeah.
I think is kind of the best way to describe it. What ends up happening is you get the awesome turn radius, the shape, the profile of Rustler 10, but in a more poppy and energetic format. So you're not losing a ton in terms of weight, 150, 180 grams. You are losing a bit of that dampness from the lack of metal, but you're getting a ton of pop and bounce. I
Yep.
mean, that was our main impression, was like, wow, great energy coming out of this ski. Awesome bounce in the soft snow, super playful, really fun. No reason not to ski this any day that you would ski Rustler 10.
Yeah.
You know,
no,
there's
it's super fun.
no reason.
Bouncy and playful and
Yeah.
hoppy. It's like Tigger.
Yeah, and you know, when you have that same rocker profile and camber underfoot, no reason to show it again. Jeff just showed it. Like, it's the same ski. Maybe a little bit more snap coming out of that
Yeah, I'd say
camber
so.
built in, just building in the energy. But overall, very similar experience to Rustler 10 in terms of if you put a Rustler 10 skier, Mikey, who's been on that ski for years, put him on this, and he's going to fall right in line with it. It's not like he's going to feel a night and day difference.
No, or have to like relearn what the ski does or
Right.
anything. They basically react the same to how you ski. One just feels damper and quieter, and one
Yeah.
feels snappier and more energetic. But super fun. And the other thing that like I have a hard time ignoring, and is not really like the design of these skis or the focus of these skis, but there's a little bit of freestyle influence in the shape of the Rustler 10.
Sure.
I've always especially the 9. People actually kind of use the 9 as like a pseudo hybrid freestyle ski sometimes, but it's in the 10 too. They are more directional than like a twin tip shape, but there's enough rise back there and just the overall feel that it at least has some freestyle influence. It basically replaced like the Gunsmoke and Peacemaker and that kind of stuff. So you kind of look at it through that lens. Because this is lighter and more energetic, this is better
Right.
as like kind of a pseudo almost freestyle ski.
Yeah.
The only thing that I'll say about that is like I don't know what happens with durability. I would think that there's still enough in this ski that if you bash it around as a freestyle ski, it'd be fine.
Yeah.
But who knows? And I don't really think that a lot of people will do that. It's just another thing that I couldn't help but notice.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's stable, it's sturdy, nice flex. It's not too stiff, not too soft. I mean, I think that they really did a great job with this ski, like
100%.
in a vacuum. No marketing involved, nothing, no Rustler 10 comparison, no Enforcer Unlimited.
No, just look at it as its own thing.
Yep, and
it's a great ski.
It's a great ski.
Yep.
Most of it depends on what you're putting with it in terms of bindings and boots.
And it's the best base in the entire Blizzard line.
Oh, okay. Blizzard line.
Yeah.
Got it.
Do you want to do a QST base comparison? It might even be better than that one. I like the bright orange.
Okay.
You can really see it when you're skiing. You get
Totally.
that reflection off the snow.
Yeah, super glow.
Yeah. Next ski up here is the DPS Koala 103. Normally when we're talking about DPS, we're talking about Pagoda skis, slightly more technologically advanced construction. Do you think that's a fair way to describe it?
I think that that's a big selling point for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a little bit more of a simplistic build and more of a freestyle influenced shape. Not particularly heavy, 1,850 grams, but I think something that surprises a lot of people about these skis is the flex pattern. It's kind of similar to that Mana 2 in the sense that there's some supportive flex there.
Yeah. Yep.
There's this ski, despite that 1,850 gram weight figure, it feels pretty darn strong when you ski it.
Yeah.
It's actually got a lot of similarities to that Mana 2. It just got some shaping differences. So in classic DPS fashion, we get a little bit more taper in the tips as well as in the tail. I'd say it's probably more noticeable in that tail. And then there's a bigger difference between tip and tail dimensions overall. So that kind of improves its ability as a directional kind of freeride maneuverable tree ski, and I would say takes away some of its performance as a freestyle ski.
Yeah.
It still has quite a bit of tail rocker, like kind of similar to that Faction again. Almost symmetrical, a little bit longer in the tip, but pretty darn close to the point where it's squarely like a hybrid freeride freestyle ski. It just, it has a different feel. It doesn't
Right.
feel all the way twin tip to me. And I was like, admittedly, somewhat disappointed the first time I skied it, because I thought DPS made like a park ski.
Right.
And it's never quite felt that way to me, but it is really good as just an all mountain tree, groomer, powder,
Yeah.
little bit of everything ski. And they took some characteristics from, what's the big Koala, the 118?
Yeah.
So it actually has really good float too. You know, DPS is known for making skis that feel really good in powder. So I could see like a playful Eastern skier who likes the idea of a twin tip but doesn't fully utilize the twin tip characteristics. This could be a really good like powder ski for that person.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely stiff, you know, and it has that.
Yeah.
It has like the foundation construction. So, you know, there's a lot of fiberglass.
Yeah.
You know, there's not the two carbon laminates like we see in Pagoda.
No, there's a
But-
lot to it.
There's a lot to it. Yeah.
And when you were like twisting the Reckoner, you can't twist this thing at all.
No, that thing's gonna
It's a lot of
react.
ski.
Yeah.
Almost kind of planky in
Yeah.
some sense, but not necessarily in a bad way. Just has that strong, stable, stout feel.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
a real ski.
in comparing DPSs to DPSs, and like you said, it's just not as sophisticated
No,
as this Pagoda is.
but considerably smaller price tag too.
I believe so.
So that's the Koala 103.
Another one on the twin tippy side of the spectrum is the Revolt 104, and I was very happy to get on this thing this year finally in the 188. You know, I'd only gotten to ski it in the 180 before our ski test this year, and I always liked it, but I always knew that I wanted something a little bit more, and that extra 8 centimeters, that did it for me.
Oh, it's such a long rocker profile on that ski that it does ski a little
Yeah.
short.
Yeah, and I even like, you know, I like to move the bindings back a little bit. I think I went 2 clicks back with the demo binding, and
Yeah.
that made a difference. It was really nice. But this thing's all there. I mean, definitely has that sturdy feel, much like we saw with Mana 2 in terms of just being a substantial ski. 2,044 grams. This is the 180, so even that 188's even going to be a little bit heavier. But just a really nice overall shape and profile, even flex, great option for like more of like a mountain is your playground type of skier. Certainly you can take it into the park. You know, once we're getting into the 104 and up, that's a little bit wide for park specific applications.
Yeah.
But this skier is mostly using this thing in a free ride format while incorporating those freestyle tendencies to whatever you're doing out there.
Yep.
I think one of the nice things about this is that it has a lot of taper and a wider shovel, and then a little bit straighter of a tail. So there's just not as much shape through the tail here. That really allows the skier to make those kind of surfy, smeary turns.
Very surfy, smeary.
Yeah, and it's a little bit softer back there too.
Yeah.
So it really kind of gives you the ability to get creative with your skiing. And just a really great option for someone looking for that wide twin. Pretty flat in the camber. I mean, this is
Not much to it.
about as close to a flat or non-cambered ski as we see on this wall. And like you mentioned, just that long rocker profile in the shovel and in the tail. But
Maybe the longest rocker up here, and the only thing I'm eyeing over there is that Blaze, which it's interesting that they're both from
both
Volkl.
Volkls, yeah. But really great option for that twin tip skier looking for something sturdy, stable, and just super creative. There's nothing wrong with this ski at all.
No,
You know, it turns really well, it floats great, has that park capability. Certainly isn't going to be able to hold an edge like something that we see with either more metal or more carbon in it that's going to give it that stiffness, but you know, not awful for what it is.
no, I can carve on it just fine.
Yep.
Just being lighter and more centered.
Yeah. But I think that tail is really the standout feature of the ski in that it's able to kind of serve as that rudder through soft snow. But, you know, super psyched to get on the longer length this year, and really kind of found that it stepped up a couple notches in my book.
And another one will this be the third year?
I believe so.
I think so. I still remember when it was brand new.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of questions comparing it to the Reckoner 102 because those were kind of like two new skis, just over 100, freestyle / freeride skis, and a lot of people were choosing between the two. And I always liked the description of they basically accomplished the same things but through a different feel. Mm-hmm. This one's stiffer but with longer rocker. That's softer but with less rocker. Yeah. So it's just kind of like which you prefer. People would always be like, which one butters better? It's like, well, that's impossible to answer because they're both going to do it really well. They just feel different. So like a slightly different skiing style. And you, before we started filming, you brought up the ARV 106 as another really good comparison to this ski. Both extremely surfy and smeary for different reasons. That doesn't have quite the same length of rocker, but then they get the smear tech or whatever they call it. I can never.
No, that's correct.
All right, good. Horizon tech, smear tech.
Right, boat hull, I don't know, convex tech.
Convex.
But yeah, similar sound and kind of
overall feel.
Yeah, overall feel in those two for sure.
And both like stronger and probably heavier than people would think if you just looked at a picture of them on the internet and read manufacturer marketing stuff.
Right, you see twin tip Freeride, you're thinking light and quick.
Right, which is interesting just as a theme going through all these skis is it's like a little bit counterintuitive in a lot of these skis up here of like which is heavier.
Right.
So I think that's really interesting. Next ski here is the Line Blade Optic 104. If this isn't the best representation of a modern freeride ski, I don't know what is.
No, they've done it. They've done it with these Blade Optics, I think.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to think of this when I first saw it, and they had the like translucent top sheet graphic the first time we saw it, and I was just like, what is that supposed to be?
Which I was surprised because you have an Enforcer 104 free, which has more metal than
that I really like.
That you really like.
Yeah, and for some reason this just looked strange to me. I don't know. Probably just the shape of the metal. It's just something that we don't really see before. So really uniquely shaped metal in this. That gas pedal metal, it's pretty much like borrowed from the Blade, but different application of it in these Blade Optics. So extends through to the edges underfoot and then tapers kind of like a Rustler 10, but longer. In fact, the metal in this ski is even longer than you would get in a Rustler 9.
Yeah.
So there are some similar characteristics between this ski and Rustler 10, but this is more ski, in my opinion.
Yeah, and if we kind of talking about the Rustler 10 as a grandfather, this is like the youthful offspring.
Exactly.
Like it's just a more modern and sophisticated take on that partial metal laminate.
Yep. And there's more freestyle influence in this ski's design.
Yep.
And that is just a growing segment of skis in general. More and more skiers are asking for twin tip shapes with advanced construction.
Yep.
More and more people that grew up as park skiers are now in their 30s and 40s and have income to spend on fancier skis rather than like $300 twin tips that are going to just break. So that's really why I consider this a very modern freeride ski. It's not light, just about 2,100 grams. So there's a lot here. And then the shape is pretty darn cool. So we get that long rocker in the tips and tails. You also get kind of some smooth early taper. I don't even really know if it's actual early taper, more just like that Enforcer influence. And we've talked about that before. I think we mentioned it with the 10 and maybe the 88 too, is that just manufacturers looked at this ski and realized how good that shape was. And we're starting to see it pop up in other skis. So the benefit is you get a lot of maneuverability, pretty easy to flick the ski around, pretty short effective edge if you're riding a flat ski. but you can tip this thing up on edge, and it is strong.
Yeah.
It is strong and stable and powerful and aggressive. If you're like a rip down the fall line type skier, but you want some playfulness, you know, like you might ski 50 miles an hour and then go pop a little 360 off a wind lip or something like that. Like that's how I think of this ski. And similar to how I think of the Enforcer 104,
Yeah.
and the same reasons why I like that ski. This just, to me, leans, further towards that park freestyle feel, which makes sense because it's a line.
Right.
Like this is about as directional freeride as I would ever want line to go. Like make twin tips. That's what I expect and want line to do, and I think this one's really good.
Yeah.
If they want a powerful ski, this is the right way to do it for Line as a company.
Yep, and that is also just kind of exemplified in that sidewall construction. And we talked about this with the Blade Optic 92, where they're full sidewall, and it's a pretty dramatic run from full sidewall to cap. So, you know, they're getting that performance underfoot while leaving tips and tails playful and fun.
Yep.
But with that metal up here, like you said, makes this thing a strong ski and very high performance end of the spectrum. And very similar, I would say, for the most part, to this one.
Yeah,
104 free.
I find that this, like, just to do a quick comparison, this makes rounder, cleaner turns.
Yep.
This is more straight sideways, straight sideways, straight sideways, which is, again, why I really consider it like a modern freeride ski, because more skiers have that skiing style where Bob would yell behind the camera, slash turn.
Yeah, I love like yelling slash turn.
So that's just the big difference that I feel between that and this.
Interesting that like this ski has the most metal out of anything on the wall up here.
Yeah.
You know, it's like really the only ski that has 2 full sheets of metal.
I guess it's under TI plus. I don't know. We might have to like melt down the metal, because this is thinner metal.
Thinner metal.
So by total mass
of metal.
I'm not sure.
All right. But certainly has that strong free ride capability.
Yeah, by surface area of metal, if you were to spread it out, the most metal.
Definitely. And it works really well in this one.
Yeah, they pretty much nailed it with the metal.
Yeah, taking that Enforcer 100 benchmark construction, and putting it in a wider bodied format, and then increasing the rocker and splay in the tail. Really smart move by Nordica, it turns out.
Yeah.
You know, taking that nice turny, carving ability of the Enforcer 100 and then putting more freeride into it. You know, but that makes this a more like strong carving on-trail oriented freeride ski than Blade Optic, which I think starts on the other end, and then you get that on-trail performance as a bonus.
Yes, that makes perfect sense to me.
So like this one, you know, unchanged since inception.
Yes,
I believe.
Yes.
So you know, still has that kind of old school modern freeride mentality, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a super interesting ski and works really well. You know, even flex. You know, that the side cut we always talk about, really turny, 2,100 grams. You know, this is the 179. So once you get into 186 and even 191, you're looking at more grams there for sure. But just seeing this nice side cut extend right past that rocker profile makes all the difference in the world. You know, floaty and easy to use and fresh snow, but really high performance sealing. I mean, we've seen and experienced some really high-end skiing on this thing. You know, from a variety of skiers.
Yeah, that thing can absolutely rip.
Yeah.
But then you can like do a 180 too.
Right.
Which is fun.
Yeah, and like that tail splay, you know, certainly more of the free ride end versus freestyle, but I mean, you know, most of that splay is due to the rocker versus more of a twin tip like Mana.
Or like we see on the new Unleashed.
Right. So very, very good in terms of making that a playful tail that can do a whole lot of different things. But nice and round, makes round turns, just about as good as it gets. You know, it's just it's a little heavy.
Yeah, it's,
You know,
it's
that's-
interesting. I mean, it's like, so when this ski came out, hands down, 100%, it was a leader in the category.
Yeah.
Is it still a leader in this category? I would say yes, but certain skis have caught up to it or have similar characteristics
Yeah.
and accomplish similar things. And we're starting to see more different stuff. This ski, Hustle 10, like there's this like new segment of slightly lighter skis, even like QST 106 I would
Right.
kind of put into that description, that just feel a little different, and it is changing the positioning of this ski just a little bit. Like, I feel like these new skis are pushing this further towards power and stability if you're looking at this group overall,
Yeah.
even though the ski itself hasn't changed.
This used to be like the most playful and free-ridey.
Exactly.
Like if we did this comparison 3 years ago, like that would be in the middle end of
Right.
free-ridey and loose and fun.
Right.
And now it's not.
Now it's, yeah, just because other skis have changed or been developed, this now is more stable, powerful, you're a hard charger skier.
Yep.
It's really interesting how the category has evolved. And it's largely thanks to this ski. So I'll hand you this one. Gosh, we looked up the weight right before, right around 1,750 grams in
Yep.
this ski, I do believe. This is Bob's personal pair. This is the Enforcer 104 Unlimited. We've got a Duke PT16 on here, which is like maybe overkill, but if
It's
you've,
definitely overkill.
if you've skied this binding, you know it feels strong. And
Yeah.
we know Bob likes bindings that feel strong. So this basically takes the exact same shape that we see in Enforcer 104 Free, and in a extremely similar conversation as Hustle or Rustler to Hustle, it's just using carbon instead of metal. So same shape, same overall feel. It initiates turns the same way, like all the benefits of the shape, and there are huge benefits to this shape. Like we've talked about that a lot. That's why skis like this kind of look similar.
Yeah.
Like they nailed it on the shape. Turn entry is just so intuitive and so smooth. Just like Rustler to Hustle, this has more snap, more energy, more bounce out of a turn, softer flex pattern. Like you really, it just, I don't know. I feel like it gives you a little bit more reward without putting as much into the ski. And another thing where like it's branded and marketed as a touring ski, but if I see somebody at the mountain with this with an alpine binding on it next season, I won't be pointing fingers and laughing at them. I will be commending their thinking outside of the box and their decision making and their willingness to do what they want to do.
Right.
Like, I think there's something to be said for that, for both this and the Hustle. But I was blown away
Yeah.
when we first skied this, and we were like kind of laughing and chuckling as we were skiing. Like, what do you need an Enforcer 104
Right, with all that metal
non-unlimited
for,
for?
yeah.
Like, what's the point of all that metal when
Yeah.
this is so good? And there is, the more you ski it, the more you feel that there is a difference.
Yeah.
If you're looking for straight down the fall line stability and you like to ski super, super fast, that's still a better ski. But this is a little quicker, a little easier to throw around, a little better as like a freestyle ski if you want to like do a Cork 7 in the backcountry or something like that. There's a lot to like about this ski, and it's really cool to see a couple of our favorite shapes get kind of redesigned or reintroduced with different construction. And it's such a, I don't know, it really like gives a lot of credit to the shape. Like, oh yeah, that's just, the shape is really, really good. But yeah, you've been skiing it a lot. You probably had, what, 20 days on them last year, and
Yeah.
you had a blast.
The biggest difference I noticed between this and 104 Free was in the woods and in soft snow. Like I
little
put
floatier.
I put a ton of time on this in the spring here, where like the woods are in, you know, they're covered really well.
Yep.
And anything on top of that is bonus.
Yep.
And this was way more smeary, easy to get from turn to turn than that.
Yeah.
Like the ease of use in the woods and especially like the tight stuff that I like to do around here, you know, like this compared to like my Bent Gentler 100.
Yeah.
Like this even has, as a wider ski, a little bit more maneuverability, just because it's just that shape.
Yep.
So I was really impressed with soft snow and tree skiing on this one here in Vermont. And, you know, I had an absolutely wonderful time on the groomers. Like, is anyone looking at this ski on paper in the marketing catalog and saying, wow, that thing's going to light it up on trail?
No.
You know, like that is so far from the intended purpose of it.
Yep.
But yet it does extremely well
Yeah, it's
in
really,
that application.
really fun to carve on.
So
Shorter turn radius, like
Yep.
like all enforcers really. This 186 has an 18.5 meter radius, so makes those same nice round responsive turns.
Yep.
Bends a little easier, so you're flexing it into a turn like we were describing the Reckoner or Ripsticks or something like that.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot of fun. Standing here holding it in the light, if you want to like point out another downside to this ski compared to this ski, is like you'll get a little bit more noticeable scratches in your top sheet.
Yep.
If you're that type of skier that's really concerned with cosmetic damage to your ski, it wouldn't stop me from buying it, but
Right.
it's at least there and
It's
noticeable.
notable. Yeah, sure. And like, you know, again, back to the bindings and kind of the, you know, the other parts of the gear, you know, obviously that Duke is counteracting any weight savings that you're taking off from
Yeah,
unlimited versus free.
exactly.
So like,
This is heavier than the Pivot 18 on my Enforcer 104 free.
right.
So I think as a total package, they're like about
Yeah.
the same.
No, I mean, obviously it's a weird binding in general, but to put on a lighter ski too. Like if you put a lighter tech binding on that 104 free, they would,
Yeah,
the
changes the
same
whole.
weight.
Yeah,
So-
right. And it like changes the overall feel.
yeah,
If you put a lightweight tech binding on there, it's going to be even more agile. So something to consider if you're looking in this category and then kind of thinking about, oh, how much am I going to tour on it? How much stability do I need?
yeah.
You can kind of customize that with your binding choice.
A lot of internal conversations have to go on to
Yep.
get that setup correct. And Rossignol Sender 104 Ti. Boy, they're calling it a new ski, but
It's pretty similar to the outgoing
pretty
Sender.
similar to the Sender that, you know, from a measurements and construction perspective.
From everything that we can see.
Right. So we get a metal beam underfoot here, but a Polonia wood core, you know, and that makes it pretty snappy and energetic. So kind of the combination of that metal with that lighter weight wood put this thing just south of 2,000 grams, about 1,930. This is the 178, I believe.
I believe you are correct.
178, yeah. So, you know, as you get to that, only one length longer in this, and that's a big difference between Sender 104 and 106, is that you get longer lengths with the 106. This goes down to a 164, so kind of hitting a broader range of skiers. As you drop down, you are getting a turnier ski. We kind of noticed that with the Rally Bird, the women's versions of these as well, where you know, you get to that 102, but in a shorter length, and it's a pretty turny ski.
Yep.
So this one's got a 18 meter turn radius in the 178, but once you go down to the 164, it drops to 13. So
Yeah.
there is a big variance in how these things behave, but a really sharp ski. I would say one of the more directional ones on the wall here in terms of the tail shape.
Yeah, I mean, probably the most directional ski we've looked at so far.
Yep.
The only one that you could say is not a partial twin tip at all.
No, probably not a whole lot of backwards skiing going on in this one.
No, something has gone wrong.
Yeah, but you know, dual LCT, damp tech, air tip, they really kind of have a lot of the technologies put into this one.
One of those throw the kitchen sink at it.
Yeah, and just a very slim amount of that tail rocker, so minimal splay. This thing wants to cut through the snow pretty straight and, you know, pretty direct.
Very precise, very responsive.
Yeah, and we, you know, with all of these Sender skis, noticed just how competent they were in a carved turn.
Yeah.
Anytime that snow gets crudted up or manky, this thing is awesome. Just because it has that directional and straight mentality where it's going to cut through nice and clean. Enforcer 104 with that turned up tail, that snow is going to push against that tail and kind of keep you a little bit weighted down, where this thing just cuts right through. But just a great ski, and we always liked it, as the regular Sender, and no reason to dislike it now. Just a really well-rounded option.
Yep.
The range of sizes, I think, opens up a lot of possibilities for skiers. And that, like if you're in the market for like a 164, 104, there's not a ton of good options.
Right. That's a great point.
I think that this really opens it up for a lot of different skiers. So, that person's likely going to be using this as a softer snow ski.
Yep.
But
very well-rounded.
Well-rounded, really clean, really great turner.
Yep.
Loved watching, Ryan and Austin and these, these guys that can carve turns.
Really ski it.
Love watching them on this thing, getting it up on edge, making those high edge angles.
Yep.
Definitely, as you were saying, the least freestyle oriented of the group.
Yeah, but there's still some like playfulness to it.
Yeah.
It's just directional playfulness. And that's like, I'm glad you brought that up, because I wanted to mention every single time I ski this, just the way I perceive it, because it's more directional with a flatter tail, I think it's going to be more ski than it is.
Yeah.
More from like a demanding perspective, not from a, is this going to be stable enough for me to ski fast?
Right.
I think you can ski fast and aggressively on it, but it's continually surprising and impressive to me how quick it is.
Yep.
Like I had it in one of those flatter, kind of softer snow trails, I think at Pico, and it was like pretty easy to kind of throw it around, and like we were going real slow, but like just playing and kind of hopping and jumping, and it does that really well. So you get a nice mix of stability and responsiveness, but some playfulness and ease of use too.
Yep.
There's a little bit of Soul 7 in there.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. It's got like, it held on to that heritage just a little bit while drastically increasing the strength and stability.
Yeah, and that Soul 7, none of it's found in the back half of the ski.
No, it's just
certainly from there
anything
up.
That carries over is in the forebody of the ski.
But pretty straight and pretty smooth ski for sure.
Yep. So next we've got the Head Core 105, and I do believe, I'll wait until Bob throws it on the scale, but I do believe this is actually the lightest ski that we have up here. It's going to start with a 1600 and call it 80 grams in this ski. So very, very lightweight. We talk about all the blend of materials in this ski quite a bit. Caruba, graphene. There's just a lot of like interesting stuff going on in these skis. They put a top sheet material on it for this season. Nothing else has changed. The graphics changed. Look, black sidewall, green sidewall, kind of fun. So aside from the top sheet and the cosmetic changes, it's the same ski, but adding that top sheet definitely smoothed out its performance. And I think this might be my favorite core. Some of the narrower ones feel a little bit too light for me personally, and they can be a little twitchy. This ski doesn't feel twitchy to me. It feels smoother and a little bit more confidence inspiring while still being extremely quick. These skis, all the core skis, they're superlatives in their category for their quickness and responsiveness. And it's still stiff, but it doesn't, I don't know. There are times on narrower cores when I feel like they're punishingly stiff, at least for me. We had that conversation just recently, I think with the 99 or maybe the 87 or maybe both, where it's hard for me to bend them. And when I do bend them, they really like shoot me out of a turn. Yeah. This feels just smoother to me and easier to ski. And I love it as a tree ski. It is so easy to flick around. It's probably, I don't know, it's got to be one of the best directional tree skis up here.
Yeah,
like
I'd
QST
put
106
right
is in there for sure.
Yep.
I've had a lot of fun days on a QST 106 in the trees, but it's still not as quick or as snappy as this. So if you like skiing really tight technical terrain, this is hands down one of the best choices up here. And it's not in the catalog as a touring ski, but there is certainly nothing wrong with putting a touring binding on here, just as there's nothing wrong with not putting a touring binding on there. This is lighter than that.
Yep.
This is lighter than the Hustle 10. So don't get too hung up on catalogs and marketing terms. They're all skis. They're all between 1,680 and 2,250 grams.
Right.
Like, they're all, you can do whatever you want with them inside that window.
Yeah.
So choose your own, go your own path. Choose your own bindings.
Yeah, and this one, you know, very similar to DPS in terms of having that dual carbon laminate. And DPS uses different wood, so you know they have that 2 sheets of metal, carbon, excuse me, but they use denser wood. So there's, even though they go about using 2 sheets of carbon in the same way, the rest of the ski kind of makes up a little bit different. So certainly makes it a little heavier, almost 300 grams, 1,930 on the scale. But just an interesting way to show that, you know, these carbon-powered skis can be a little bit different, but still achieve the same type of performance.
Yeah, that Karuba is just super light.
Super light, yeah, and we got also, you know, aspen and ash. And
much denser wood over there.
Yeah.
It's interesting, but still it's a lot of similarities between those 2 skis overall, I would say.
Yeah, totally. Now we got a new one, well, a new old one, I guess.
Yeah.
Black Crow's Atris. They have really just narrowed up the waist a little bit in this ski.
Yeah.
Gone from what, 108 to a 105.
Yep.
So it took 3 millimeters out of the waist. The rest of it is definitely more similar than different than it used to be. The big change in terms of on snow performance is that you're seeing more energy. I enjoyed the Atris in the past, but found it to be a little bit dull and planky. And I had no such experience on this new version this year. Even got out on the 190, which was a treat, because you know they don't always bring all the long skis to when we go. But having that 190 was really nice. Marcus as well. You know, he's 6'5", taller than me. You know, so like he was psyched to get on that one as well.
Yep.
1,860 grams. This is the 178. So, you know, in that mid-range of weight, I would say, and just a lot more energetic than it used to be. Like kicks you out of the turn, really just a sharp turning ski, and hasn't lost any of that free ride flair and mentality that it's had.
No, it's just more playful, easier to throw it around.
Yeah.
Do cool stuff on it.
And, you know, similar to what we talked about with the Revolt 104, the tail is kind of the big story here. With that nice free ride oriented splay, and then kind of a little bit straighter in the cut back here. So really a nice, you know, easy exit to the turn and still have that nice camber underfoot. So great job. Kind of, I don't know if they're addressing an issue, but definitely made the right change in my book for this ski.
I think they're just opening it up to new skiers.
Yeah.
I think that just being 108 and like kind of feeling more like a powder ski, the previous Atris or Atris, I think more people can get on this and have it work really, really well for how they ski and where they like to ski. And it definitely puts it in a different group of skis.
Well, it wouldn't have been on this wall last year.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
It would have, if it had been, it would have been way over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I feel like it's different. It's more just like a daily driver free ride ski rather than a playful powder ski.
Yeah.
No, I had an absolute blast skiing this thing this year.
Yeah.
It is like more directional than I always think of it. I don't know why I think of it as more of a twin tip than it is. It's still twin tippy.
Yeah.
But it skis more directional.
You know, nice even flex, good snap, good energy. We kind of talk about Black Crows not having model lines like head core 105, 99, 93, 87, you know, but this falls into that Kamix,
Cactus,
Cactus, Kamix,
Atris, Nocta.
Anima,
I don't know if I'd put Anima in there. I might go
Okay.
all the way to Nocta. But I know what you mean.
Yeah, regardless, it fits into that category where, you know, if you are in that Cactus range or even Kamix and you're looking for a wider ski but with similar characteristics, you know, this fits better than, you know, the Orb, Serpo, Justice, then Anima.
Sure.
Would you put that into
I don't
there?
know. Anima might just be its own
Totally
thing.
different thing.
Yeah.
Just like Black Crowes wants.
Right.
You know, we're so, you know, fixated on putting things into categories sometimes.
But Cactus and Atris could be a really nice little 2-ski quiver for a playful skier.
Yep. But I think that these changes are very nice and, you know, kind of puts it in a different category.
Yeah.
So great job by
told,
Black Crowes there.
Our Black Crowes rep that I was putting this ski in a comparison, and he replied and said, "We win." I was like, fair enough.
All right.
That's you. So next ski up here is the Line Sakana. This thing's pretty darn interesting. Obviously a very, very unique shape. Wood with some carbon in this ski. And then we also have just this crazy swallowtail design. That doesn't look right, does it, Bob?
Hit tear. 460 grams.
The lightest ski in the world. So just over 1,700 grams in this ski. So it is not the lightest ski in the world, but it is one of the lighter skis up here. And maybe you wouldn't expect that. I don't know. I didn't expect it when we put it up here and we're weighing things. I was like, oh, that's quite a bit lighter than I thought. I hadn't spent a tremendous amount of time on this ski until this past season, and it just so far surpassed my expectations. It is so much fun.
This is the I told you so ski. Like anyone who has any hesitation, you say, no, ski that thing.
Right.
See how it goes.
You should try the Sakana.
You should try the Sakana.
That thing's weird.
Yeah.
And then you get on it and you're like, told you.
Right.
Yeah, 100%. It's very, very unique. And I don't think it's for everyone, but I would say that if everyone got a chance to ski it, they would appreciate what it can do. It makes some of the coolest turns I've ever made.
Right.
Just how wide it is with a pretty short turn radius. I actually don't think the turn radius
15.
is listed on the ski anywhere, though.
No,
it's weird that they leave it off.
Yeah.
But anyways, short turn radius, so it comes across the fall line so easily. Because this tip is so wide, it hooks up really quickly. So it's like super, super responsive and just like reactive. But then you get like playfulness too. Like you can take it into soft snow. This shovel is massive, 150 millimeters up here in the shovel, and the swallowtail, like a snowboard, it sinks back into the snow a little bit more and pushes your tip up. So it's an incredibly unique ski in how it skis and how it feels, but it's so much fun. Because it's this wide, you never have a limit of edge angle.
Right.
If you want to get your skis completely vertical or like perpendicular to the snow surface, if that's what you're trying to achieve, this is the best ski in the world to do that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean it's it's a 105 slalom ski that floats.
Right.
It's a very unique combination.
Right.
The tail is stiffer and more energetic than you would expect.
Yes, the tail's actually quite stiff, and they have to make it that way so it doesn't just bend.
Right, which is interesting when you compare it to Pescado, which that tail is soft.
Right, and you can bend it because that's really more of a powder-specific ski, where this is just a rip around the mountain regardless of the snow conditions ski.
Now, I will say limitations exist on this one.
100. There's like,
moguls, trees.
Just a ton of stuff.
Yeah, and we talked
Longer
about the Sender
turns.
being the most directional ski. Like
this might be
the most directional ski, but it's also the most interesting, unique, and has kind of the highest wow factor, I would say.
Sure.
Of just being like surprised at performance. I haven't gotten on the 181 yet. I don't think you have either, just the 174.
I actually don't even remember.
Yeah.
And I think it's the type of ski where like you're not going to notice a huge difference between lengths.
Yeah. But I was fine on this 174.
Right.
It's like that Rossignol sushi snowboard that comes in a
super short
144 or whatever that
Yeah.
I'm supposed to ride. But yeah, super unique combination. And side note, we have 2-line skis on the wall.
Almost had a third.
Almost had the Sir Francis Bacon on here as well.
Couldn't quite fit it.
Which is just kind of like a testament to where lines meet of their
Right.
lineup is.
Right, and you're not going to have a single line in any front side comparisons or 80 millimeter comparisons or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's like a handful of brands that are left out of this comparison just because they don't make any skis mid 100 underfoot, and
Right.
then brands like Line make a lot of them.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting to see how that falls.
Yeah. Another twin tippy. We kind of brought this one up earlier. ARV 106. Mix of ash and poplar in the wood core.
It's a real ski.
That's a real ski. 2,140 grams.
It might be the heaviest ski up here, which is like
Yeah.
very counterintuitive just looking at this wall.
Yeah, no metal. So it has that ash wood that is just that dense wood that's normally found in like a race ski.
Yep.
Put it into a twin tip. Give it some real playfulness in the tips and tails, and you got a good time out there.
Thing's a lot of fun.
That thing's a ton of fun.
Super smeary, but still stable
Yep.
and fun. You can ski it fast. It's a lot like that Mana too,
Yep.
actually, in the sense that you can do park ski or freestyle things on it, but then you can ski really fast and aggressively and down the fall line. And
Yeah.
it's a cool ski.
Great camber underfoot, really building the energy into the ski. And, in terms of the rocker, it's a little bit more free-ridey than freestyle. When we have those more dedicated twin tips, there's a little bit less rocker, gives it more a longer effective edge.
Yeah.
Good pop, but this is, appropriate for what it's supposed to do. And then that smear tech really just, mirrors what Atomic does with Horizon tech in the tips in terms of making more surface area without increasing the width of the ski. And they do that in the tail as well. So really great option for that tail rider skier out there. Super popular, seeing that in the ski movies these days with these kids just
Modern freeride,
riding wheelies down the hill.
Right,
This
manuals and wheelies are a thing now instead of just you're in the back seat.
Right. Intentional backseat doesn't count as being in the back seat. But, once we get to this width, we're moving a little bit out of park-specific performance compared to the 102s at the front of the wall.
Yep.
Doesn't mean you can't do it, just means that it's just more width and a little bit harder to get around on stuff.
And just heavier.
Yep.
Yeah, that's probably maybe its most significant downside as a park ski is
Right.
the weight. It's just tiring.
Yeah. But Armada just does a great job making these nice solid skis.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
funnier that it's like heavier than an Enforcer 104.
Right.
Just that's like I feel like that's something that people wouldn't. If we put out a quiz,
Right.
and one of the quiz questions was what ski is heavier, ARV 106 or Enforcer 104 free, I would guess that the majority of the answers would say Enforcer 104 free.
Like a trick question.
Right.
Yeah.
Next ski is the DPS Pagoda 106 C2. This ski is really interesting to me. We talked about it through the lens of the Core 105. Very similar use of carbon. DPS does use I'd say more advanced grade of carbon, which is reflected in the price. Basically, it means the carbon will never break down, so it gives you more consistent performance through the lifetime of the ski, which I think is kind of cool.
Yep.
I think like you could make the argument that you have to ski a lot to get to that point.
Right.
Like I don't know what the number is, but probably a couple hundred days. You're going to be skiing a lot if you're the type of skier that's really thinking about are my skis breaking down
Right.
structurally. But something to be said about it, and it is very, very nice carbon, made in the United States. The manufacturing behind these skis is top notch. Denser wood, like Bob was saying, than in the core, so puts it up to 1,930 grams. And this ski is not really what I think about when I think of DPS as a company. I always think about with now the Pagoda 100 or the 112 with the RP shaping.
Yep.
For whatever reason, I don't really think of these when I think of DPS, these C2 shaped skis. So correct me if I'm wrong, but 19-meter turn radius in this ski.
Yes.
So quite a bit of a longer turn radius than those RP shaped skis that are all 15. So that's kind of an indication to the purpose of it.
Yeah.
And a pretty stiff flex pattern too. So longer effective edge, longer turn radius, stiffer flex pattern. This ski is pretty darn strong.
It's one of the best wide carving skis
Yeah,
that I've been on.
right. And I really think of this ski as best for a pretty hard charging skier.
Yeah.
Somebody who likes skiing fast, they want a precise, responsive ski, but they also want something that's just stable and that can support just really aggressive skiing. Like almost some like big mountain characteristics in this ski. If you live out west and you like to just like rip down open faces or rip really fast down like a relatively tight chute, I think this is a really good ski. Where I think of skis like the 100 RP or even like a Core 105 as being skiers that probably prefer to ski a little slower and make more like methodical, purposeful turns, where this is more just like, no, just send it down the fall line and go.
Yeah.
So really interesting, and just it's hard to ignore just the overall quality of DPS skis. It is the most expensive ski up here by
A couple hundred.
more than
Maybe
that,
this
right?
is up there.
By like $500, I
Yeah.
think. But there's, if you break it down and you look at what's going into the ski, you can justify that
Yeah.
price. So pretty unique, at least in this category. I'd say there's some similarities with this Sender 104. There's some similarities with the Core 105. There's some similarities even with like
I'd say
Ripstick
this.
Black.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty similar application.
Yeah.
That ski is a little softer and flex, and the use of carbon's different, but that's where I would put this ski in this comparison.
Yeah, definitely the one that catches my eye every time I'm on it, that there's no way that this is 106 underfoot
Yeah,
for
just
how well it
rips
carves.
turns.
Yeah.
And I actually like that ski more than I like the Pagoda 94 C2.
Okay.
And I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I find they both have pretty nice high-end limits to them.
No, they have very similar shapes.
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't know. Personally, I prefer that construction in wider skis.
Fair.
Everyone's entitled to their own
Yeah.
opinion.
This is the Rossignol Sender 106 Ti Plus. This takes a spot in the catalog of the old Sender Ti, so a little bit beefier than regular Sender 104
Yeah.
Ti. It has an additional metal plate underfoot and a longer one at that. Also uses poplar wood instead of paulownia, so you're getting a denser wood core with this as well as more metal. You get the longer lengths as well, so 180, 187, 194. This one precludes skiers that are skiing something under 180 centimeters.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of ski.
Yep.
And I understand the purpose of doing that, but I also think it like kind of exaggerates how much ski it is.
Right.
It's not like the craziest ski in the world.
No.
It's not impossible to ski.
Certainly not.
The length breakdown is interesting.
Yeah. And I spent a good amount of time on the 187 this winter and found a whole lot to like about it. Like,
Yeah.
smooth and stable and strong.
It's
Like,
very strong.
I had a couple of runs down nosedive, long, wide groomer with fresh snow on it, and could not find the speed limit. Like
Right.
this thing was just like, I mean, it's really, really, it's not like super stiff, but it's unflappable at speeds.
It's kind of like if they took an Enforcer 104 and gave it a flatter tail,
Right.
or if they took an Enforcer 100 and made it wider.
wider.
That's basically how I think of that ski, and I think a really good way to think about its performance and feel.
Yeah, you get the carbon alloy matrix to it as well, so it has that overall higher performance feel than Sender 104 Ti. and again in those longer lengths. But still, that super strong directional ski.
Yep.
Really high speed limit on this one, and just great in soft snow. Does fine on the groomers, but we're kind of getting to that point where
It's getting a little wide.
Getting a little wide, but still has that metal underfoot for grip and for damping properties, and just does a great job. Nice thick core profile underfoot as well. So just kind of holds a nice edge.
Yep.
But really smooth, really strong, and like we saw in that 104 Ti, really not a whole lot going on in the tail other than nice straight flat edge contact. So anytime you're getting that longer effective edge, the feeling is smoother overall. Pretty decent lower profile rocker in the shovel, but nothing crazy going on there. But
would you say any characteristics of the Soul 7 that they kept in this ski is lost in that ski?
Your Soul 7 skier who loves the Soul 7
Yeah, that's
will
not for them.
dislike this.
Yes, where I think there's some crossover with this ski, but that's a different animal.
Yep.
Next ski up here is the Liberty Origin 106. I feel like since the Origin 101 came out, there's been less attention on this ski. I don't really know why. Probably just because the 101 is new, but very similar ski here.
Yeah, I mean, they just tighten the gap between 96 and 106.
Right. So we get the same blend of wood in this ski. We get bamboo and poplar. A lot of Liberty skis use bamboo. That's been in their company heritage since the start. We also get carbon, and then we also get VMT 1.0. So that's something that was new for the Origins 2 years
last year.
Yeah. So this is the second time that we've talked about it. So a single strip of that vertical metal running right down the center of the ski, and that gives this ski just a nice uptick in its stability while still being very playful, very fun. Really, to me, this might be the point, and I know we kind of said it on the last ski, and really the ARV 106 is too, so I don't know now that I'm really thinking about it, but this feels more like a powder ski to me than anything else.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
I would, and I think that, the shape combined with that construction has a lot to do with it.
Exactly, yeah. It's not just the width and the construction,
right.
the shape, which we'll look at momentarily. But that VMT 1.0 definitely increases the strength, the stronger flex pattern than I think you'd maybe expect from a ski from Liberty with bamboo in it. Just over 2,000 grams, so not too heavy, not too light either, though. Right. I think a lot of people, again, when they think of Liberty, they just think everything's going to be super, super light. So maybe change your opinion, because there's definitely some strength to this ski.
Yep.
Very, very long tip rocker. So we talked about shape and how it feels more of a powder ski. That's really where it all starts, right there. And we're going to see similar rocker profiles in at least two of the remaining skis. Not quite a twin tip shape, as you like to describe it, Bob. This amount of rise or amount of splay is just coming from the rocker, not from an actual twin tip. But I would still say that there's some freestyle influence in this ski. So it's kind of one of those skis that 100% is a freeride ski, but they built in some playfulness to it, kind of like Enforcer 104, kind of like Blade Optic 102, but a different feel in this ski. I find these to be more snappy, more energetic, more responsive, while that vertical metal, it still provides some good stability. It's just not quite the damp, smooth feel here. These are more poppy and snappy and reactive, but very, very fun. And I feel like it's one of those skis where no matter who we put on it in our ski test, they have a lot of fun on it. You can put a young, freestyle-y guy on it, and they're going to have a blast. And then I'm thinking about Brad Moskowitz, who I think I have footage of on this ski, who is more of a technical directional skier, skis a lot of trees. I believe he's on Ski Patrol.
Yeah, I think so.
Or at least part-time volunteer Ski Patrol. And he loved this ski.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different applications for it, and it's really cool how Liberty has evolved as a company from just a twin tip manufacturer to a company that makes really well-rounded skis that a lot of different skiers can enjoy. Between Evolve and Origin, that's a big segment of skiers.
Yeah, a lot of bases covered there.
Right. They're not just twin tip, freeride, freestyle-y skis. So really, really good job from Liberty. And perhaps the best top sheet graphics.
You're going with this for graphics?
I don't know. I just really like how Liberty just kind of unapologetically is like, yeah, our skis are really bright.
Yep.
Here you go.
A very tree themed.
Where you see a lot of similarities between pretty much everyone else.
Right.
I guess that Hustle 10's a bit of an outlier, but everything else is kind of muted, darker tones, and you know when somebody a few lines over from you in the lift is on Liberties,
right?
Because their skis are bright.
Yeah, no, they did a great job. Core thickness too stands out for me on this one,
sure.
Similar to what we see from Faction.
Oh, and I'm glad you brought that up. So glad you brought that up, because that ski shares the exact same side cut dimensions as the Sender 106 Ti Plus. That was the tie.
Oh, and what an interesting tie.
Right?
You know, they couldn't, you know, for being next to each other, they can't be more different.
They're so different, but they use the exact same dimensions, which maybe that's the best representation of why we do these videos.
Right.
Because if you looked at those two skis on paper, at their weights, at their dimensions, you would maybe think that they're very similar skis, but they are so different.
Yeah.
So that's what makes this really fun, at least for us, and hopefully for you guys too.
Yeah. Salomon QST 106, the best base graphic on the wall.
Oh, I thought we were giving it to Hustle. That's fine.
It's just orange. This at least has some character to it.
That's fine. You're entitled to your opinion.
But great new updates for this ski. We talked about the QST 92 and I believe the 98 already, but we'll add the 106 to the mix here in terms of getting, you know, these refreshes that Salomon has put into their skis. A little bit different.
Mini blank.
Yeah, little mini blanks. A little bit different with this in terms of its relation to the old 106 versus like the 99 to the 98, 92 to 92.
More similarities, would you say?
Yeah. So I think that was more athlete inspired, where they still wanted to keep the slightly longer turn radius involved. You know, 98, 92, and blank all feature very short turn shapes. This one stays a little bit longer, a little bit more true to what 106 was. 19 meters in the 181, and just over 2,000 grams, 2075, 2080. So again, we're over 2,000. A lot of that has to do with just the amount of poplar wood in this ski. It's just a lot of material. Carbon and flax in the tips and tails, and then beefed up sidewall underfoot. And, you know, gosh, did we have a lot of fun on this year.
It's so much fun.
You know, from the first turns that we had here at Stowe on like a pretty decent groomer day. Then we had it here on, you know, one of the deepest days of the year, you know, at least a foot and a half, 2 feet of snow.
Worked great.
Worked awesome. And then out in Alta, Utah, you know, just a mix of conditions and terrain out there. So just a wonderful blend of attributes. Super friendly, very easy to ski, but definitely has that higher end ceiling. Similar to how we feel about the Armada in terms of just the stability and sound. I mean, this thing is a solid ski, but is very easy to turn and super maneuverable.
Yeah. Solid, but still like surfy and smeary. And,
yeah. You know, the blend of attributes on this is really what makes it stand out.
It's so
from
intuitive
other skis.
too. It makes you feel like a better skier.
Yeah.
Which I always really appreciate. And like going back to Alta for a second, we probably each skied 5 different Salomon skis while we were out there?
Yeah.
At least 4. I could have very happily just stayed on a QST 106 the entire time. In fact, I believe there were a few different moments where you and I were kind of like, can we go back and get QST 106s again? Because it just worked so incredibly well for that terrain. It makes a lot of sense that that Salomon tests a lot of skis in
Utah.
In that area. Yeah, because it just, in the moment, it was hard to think of a better ski for that application. It was just like, oh yeah, this is perfect.
Works great.
Because you can like throw it sideways and do that long drift.
Yeah.
If you're skiing something like technical and you're nervous or you need to like line up a cliff drop or something, you can just let the ski go, but then it's quick and agile and it's just, yeah, I don't know. It's a really good ski.
And, you know, nice rocker, nothing crazy, you know, kind of similar to what we see in Liberty, maybe a little shorter. And then that taper, you know, they did bring it down a little bit from the old 106, but nothing really weird. I'd say more of a thinner profile up top. When we would compare old 106 to this, wasn't a whole lot of differences. But we do get that nice tail rocker in the back. This is kind of more similar to what we saw on the Stance 102 in terms of it not being really a progressive bend, but more of a start and then straight.
Yeah.
You know, maybe a little bit more of a curve to the 106, emphasizing that playful personality, but in general, you know, similar in the tail to the Stance in terms of the rocker, but different everywhere else.
And another really good time to bring up like weight and marketing and binding choice and stuff like that. We were almost 2,100 grams.
Right.
But like, if you look at Salomon's catalog, they're going to say you should buy a shift with this.
And like a QST Pro boot.
Right.
You know.
And there's no reason why you can't.
Yeah.
But just like, remember that it's not a lightweight touring ski.
Right.
So it's like, I don't know. I just wanted to bring that up again because it's like that's, if you ask Salomon, that's the ski that goes with the shift, and it's not particularly light. Can you tour on it? Absolutely. Will people tour on it? Absolutely. Is it good for like a multi-day hut-to-hut trip? I don't know. Depends how much weight you're willing to lug around.
Right. So not in the touring category in the marketing department.
Right.
Are these yet?
But it could be. And you know, I'll push back on you a little bit in the fact that there's a skin attachment point on here.
Yeah, but they just made new touring skis this year.
I understand. And it's not in their catalog, but at least there's a design element that's a nod to, can you tour on this? And the tail says yes.
But you could put a skin you could put a skin on this.
A skin would fit great on that thing. Well, and that ski's perfectly light enough.
Yep.
You could tour on that. I'm not going to tell you not to. Do whatever you want. It's America.
Yeah.
So this is the Ripstick 106. It's probably pretty appropriate that I get this one, and Bob's going to talk about the black edition. They tend to work better for lighter and or heavier skiers, and I'd say there's probably more limitations with this one than with the black edition. Like, I can ski the black edition as a lighter weight skier, and it's fine, and I appreciate it. Bob, you probably find more limitations here than I do in the black.
Yeah, but not like, it's not a wholesale change for me. Like, I got on this at Waterville this year in the 188.
Yep.
And was totally happy with this thing.
Yep.
You know, and we're talking about like Eastern hard snow.
Yeah, no, it's
And
amazing
it
how
did
well
great.
it does.
Yep.
Yeah. So, Ripstick 106, 100% a directional ski. We're not looking at a twin tip here at all. And the big thing here is that tube light wood core and the carbon rods.
Yep.
So this is that three-dimensional application of carbon fiber. In this ski, they run just along the edges. We'll see the quad rod in the next ski, but it provides way more vibration damping than we typically get from a ski with carbon. That kind of makes them feel like they have metal. I would say the next ski really feels like it has metal. This maybe feels like we don't actually have a Maverick up here because there's not one in this width, but kind of feels like a Maverick in like that thin metal. So this kind of feels like it has thinner metal. 1,850 grams or 1,900, it's kind of going back and forth depending on how close I step to it. But perfectly light enough to tour on, and also light enough to be really, really agile as a tree ski. Somewhat of a softer flex pattern in this ski. I think with Ripsticks, and maybe this is kind of what you were thinking of in your reaction to them, is as you get wider, they do get stronger and stronger. So this ski is a little bit more of a supportive flex pattern than, I would say, specifically a Ripstick 88.
Right.
And even more supportive, and also more supportive than the 96. But big difference going from 88 to 106. And a really, really fun, playful shape. So we have that amphibio profile. There's more rocker on the outside edge of the ski. That would be this edge. So, you know, tip rockers call it that long, not nearly as long as some of the skis over there. And then same is true in the tail. There's a little bit of rocker back there, but not a tremendous amount. But these skis, because they're not super, super stiff, because they're relatively lightweight, they're really quite maneuverable and quite agile. So really well-rounded ski, makes really clean, round carving turns. I love just skiing groomers on this ski,
I know.
which just feels so weird to say because it's not the intention of this category or this ski, but kind of like the Sakana, like you can just lay it over and generate these crazy high edge angles, and the ski has really good torsional stiffness and just hold, but you can kind of bend it and like push into it, and it doesn't like spring you or kick you out of a turn too much. Very, very intuitive, very easy to ski. Works really well in the trees, works really well in powder. I feel like something that gets kind of missed on ripsticks sometimes is how big this shovel is.
Right.
There's a lot of surface area up here, so it works really, really well as a powder ski despite not having as much rocker as an Origin or a QST or a Blaze that we'll look at momentarily. There's a lot to like about these ripsticks.
Yeah, I would say that these are, you know, comparable in directional nature to Senders.
Or even, Sender 104.
Yeah,
this could
one.
probably be a really good Sender 104 comparison. There's even some there's some Enforcer 104 Unlimited.
Yeah, for sure.
In this ski. They have, if you want to think about like flex pattern and overall feel, these skis are actually quite similar.
Yeah.
The shapes are really the big difference there. Much flatter tail here.
Leave that up there for a second, would you?
Sure.
So
I'll let you put that one back.
a good way to kind of talk about differences and similarities. Obviously, we're dealing with the same footprint.
Yeah, and we've done this 3 times now.
Yeah.
Same footprint, same footprint, same footprint.
So 2 carbon tubes running tip to tail here. In Black Edition, we get an additional one in the forebody and through the tail. So you're getting 2 additional carbon tubes. You're also getting a wider carbon laminate. So in the Black Edition, it kind of starts, based on the Amphibio, whichever ski this is left, so it's going to be wider on the
inside edge.
And it starts up higher than it does on regular, and then it goes to full width, whereas this only goes half width. So you're getting a longer and wider horizontal carbon laminate in the Black Edition, in addition to those 2 carbon rods. Other than that, skis are pretty much the same.
Yep, just a little stiffer here.
Yep.
A little heavier. I'll throw it on the scale for you. But I think that's the big difference.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like, if you're choosing between the two, I feel like the best way to do that is to ask yourself whether you need the extra stiffness of the Black Edition, because if you don't, you might as well stick with the normal 106 and you're going to save like $150.
Yeah.
So.
But these skis, the 106 and the 96, are extremely successful in mimicking metal, the dampness of metal without it.
Yeah,
So,
this one in particular, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, and you know, again, like DPS, you know, from my experience, the best wide carving skis out there. You know, just super, super clean, easy to get up on edge and just rip around turns.
Best 106 underfoot carving ski?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I don't know. I still have to put it as a tie with that one. I'm going to ski them back to back this year, but
I'll give it to the Elan.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it makes a rounder turn.
Yeah. But these the carbon powered skis in these wider widths, I think do a really nice job of being able to activate that energy and make them feel like they're narrower skis.
Yeah.
So from the grip to the pop to, you know, the rebound out of the turn, I'm just continuously impressed with the evolution of these carbon powered ones.
They're incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Elan really knocked the ball out of the park with the ripstick development. And
Yeah.
I think we were impressed by them from the get-go. And then when we skied the Black Editions, I mean, I'll never forget my first few turns on that exact, well, not that one, but on a Ripstick 106 Black Edition, as I stopped like halfway down the trail and was just like this is amazing.
Like, you sure there's no metal in here? Like,
Yeah.
It really feels that way.
Yeah,
But,
it's incredible.
yeah.
And a big difference between that ski and this ski, this is the Blaze 106. Been around for a few years now. Really one of the best directional powder skis in this width range that you're ever going to find, and a really good touring ski too. So there's a lot of different things you can do on this ski. It's kind of interesting, like maybe Volkl was like really forward thinking in their development of this ski.
I mean,
I
you
kinda
say
think
the
they
same
were.
thing for Atomic.
I think
mean, that
Atomic
thing's been
was
around
too.
for a while.
Yeah, but I think like it's interesting to see how Volkl has navigated that avenue compared to other companies. And I'm really not like pointing fingers, but thinking about Blizzard and Nordica here, how they've really segmented those or marketed them as touring skis. Volkl started doing that with this ski. The first year it came out, they were like, here's our new touring line. And then people were like, this thing is so much fun
Right.
just as a resort powder ski. And now Volkl's like, check out our lightweight resort powder ski
Right.
that you can still tour on. And I think that's the better way to think of it. 1,750 grams, a big blend of materials in this ski, including that synthetic iso strip down the center of the ski. So that does a really good job bringing the weight down. 1,750 grams in a ski
And this is the
this
186.
long and this wide.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an impressive accomplishment. But pretty supportive flex pattern still. So it's not just like a lightweight noodle. And then I said best directional powder ski, and I say that because of that shape.
Yeah, wide shovel, long rocker.
Like it feels like half the ski is tip rocker,
Yeah.
which is crazy. It's not just like a quarter of the ski is tip
Right.
rocker. The rocker literally starts there.
I mean, that's right where that metal underfoot.
Exactly. Like right
Ends.
where the binding
Yeah.
platform ends, you get all tip rocker. So a ton of float in this ski. There is still quite a bit of tail rocker too, but less splay back
Yeah.
here. And then while we have it flipped upside down, we get that 3D radius in this ski. So 40-meter radius in the tip.
Yes.
40. 19 underfoot and then 30 in the
I
tail.
love those big numbers.
Yeah, so when you have a straighter cut like this, especially in a powder ski, it makes it more drifty.
Yeah.
So less prone to catch and go, and more ability to just surf and smear, which is really rewarding in a powder ski.
Yep.
So great ski, a ton to like about it. It is not designed to be stable and powerful. So if you're looking for like a really responsive, fast ski with a long effective edge,
Yep.
you can just go ahead and look elsewhere. Katana 108,
Yep.
there's a ski for that, made by the same manufacturer. That is not what this ski is for.
Right.
This ski is designed to be lightweight, quick, agile, playful, and in a 100% directional format.
Yeah, and it works really well like that.
Yeah, no, we see a lot of them here at Stowe.
Yep.
There have been a lot of longtime Volkl skiers. Volkl's a huge brand here at Stowe, just in the number of them that you see on the hill. And you're starting to see a lot of people that probably have like a Kendo or a Mantra at home, and then they've picked up one of these too, and maybe a Blaze 94 too.
Yeah, all great options.
Yeah.
And finish with another one of these kind of hybrid skis. I kind of think that this was the one that started it.
I said lightest on the wall over here, but I actually think this is lighter.
Yeah, I mean, we looked it up before. It was 1,600 and change.
Yeah.
I don't know if that is in this 188 length, but
I believe if you do corresponding lengths, this is going to
Yeah.
be a little lighter than the core.
but lightweight wood core, carbon backbone, so we do get that carbon in there to help with the energy, and Horizon Tech in the tips, but a little bit more directional in the tail. So we're
Yeah.
seeing a really smooth exit to the turn with really nice flotation in the front. Similar to Blaze in terms of application and overall character.
It is.
Um,
I think it makes sense that they're right next to each other over
Yeah.
there. I think this is a little more powerful.
Yeah,
I think back to when Kaz just took off from you on Hayride,
yeah,
and it was like, whoa, that ski can do that?
right.
50 miles an hour down like a World Cup GS course.
Right. See no limitations in top end performance from this ski or this binding. Like he was on a shift.
Yeah.
And this ski and going really, really fast.
Yeah, we were joking about that when, like, I think the evening after.
Yeah.
It's like, boy, anybody complaining about a shift, we should just show them that footage of
Right.
Kaz just ripping super G turns.
Right. Yep. No, total confidence. As long as you're adjusted correctly, you should be good to go. And this ski provides that you know, the equal aspect of performance as well. But great floater, smooth, long, effective edge. I have a bunch of friends that tour on this here in Stowe, and this is their early morning ski, but they also found themselves skiing like a groomer on the way down.
Sure.
So for the most part, they're fine with it, but they've also kind of switched to having a kendo with a shift as well.
Now we're just getting real weird.
Which is really interesting. But yeah, anytime there's soft snow, you know, this is the way to go. And just a great blend of energy and pop as well as lightweight. So.
Yeah. And like if you really are looking for a backcountry touring ski, it's a great choice. Really, really good choice. That's what it was designed for. I think that's what it's best at.
So with the binding and the long length, we're at 2,670 grams. You know, we had a ski up here alone that was 2,200.
Right.
You know, so it's definitely a big difference in terms of the weight on this Backland 107. But good to see this thing back and really, you know, kind of the grandfather of the hybrid skis.
Yeah.
You know,
no, one of the first, one of the leaders in its category for sure.
I mean, I had that automatic 102 back in the day, which was very similar theory to this.
Yep.
And love that ski. So, you know, all of these atomics are great. Definitely like seeing that carbon line up with that lighter wood core.
Yep.
But
great ski to end with.
Yeah, I think so too.
So that's it. That's our mid 100 comparison. As always, don't hesitate to leave a comment or contact us directly if you have any questions about any of these skis or other skis. And then I think we'll go narrower for the next one.
Sure.
Just go all the way into like super narrow frontside skis.
Okay.
Why not?
Yeah.
So keep an eye out for the next comparison video, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.